Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I am the Sovereign, and this is another edition of the Court Council, where we discuss social events and YouTube events outside of the other topics that occur here on my channel. And we are gathered here today to address some clowns that I addressed previously. And I'm happy I got on board before this hit. The internet is once again collectively dragging fraud and fit, whatever the hell you want to call these, twin sisters? I don't mind adopting that. So previously, Fresh and Fit, Myron and Walter had gotten in trouble for issuing DMCA strikes to YouTubers' channels who were calling them out on the bad things that they were perpetuating on the platform. The YouTubers were 100% in their right to voice their opinions on what they saw were lies and fraudulent behavior from these two so-called alpha men, teaching men and their subscribers how to be alpha men, how to be the best guys in society and get the most girls and bag the most girls and sleep with girls. And Myron was found out to be using his platform, his podcast, to bed women. And Fresh is just a fraud. Like, he ain't even nowhere near, like, neither one of them are alpha men, but Fresh ain't even, look, there's no woman running to Fresh. And then he got caught with a sugar baby. And it's just like, these men were liars. They were caught lying and they got called out for it. And they tried to have people's channels taken down when we spoke about it, which YouTube said, no, that's not going to happen. Now, since then, more stuff has come out. They had a rapper known as Asian Doll. And yes, I have issues with that name. Like, yeah, I don't understand how no one's talking about that, but that's not what this video is for. They had Asian Doll on the podcast, and Asian Doll was talking during the podcast. Now, when you're talking, you have a microphone. The microphone picks up everything. It's one of the reasons why my family is forced to sneak around the house very quietly when I am filming, because my microphone will pick up everything, and they know that, and I will snap at them because they know better at this point. But Asian Doll was being a little bit rude when it came to podcast etiquette. Now, when Myron told her, please don't have side conversations, he kind of presented it or said it like a little bit rudely. Now, she was breaking rules, and I would have said the same thing. I wouldn't have been rude about it. But then she kind of made a side comment about Myron being mean as fuck. I'll just say it, mean as fuck. It's not how far are we in the video? She said Myron's being mean as fuck. And then Myron made a sound effect, screeching the podcast to a halt, and started going in on her and kind of losing his temper, which, number one, that's something alpha men don't do. Myron enjoys kicking people out of his podcast. That's kind of what he's known for. He wants to pretend as if that podcast is known for helping men, uplifting men. People watch Myron's podcast for the same reason people watch Jerry Springer. They're there for the shit show. They're there to watch him scream and berate women and throw them off of the podcast. And he tried to do that to an established rapper. And a lot of people on the podcast weren't having it because it's like, bro, she's a mainstream person. You're not going to do that to her. But he has this tendency to lose his temper just like an insecure child. Like, he's a little boy. Myron just starts getting upset and crying and whining and screaming. Well, some of the fans saw this, and the fans were kind of explaining to the rest of the mainstream audience, or people who don't watch Fresh and Fit religiously, which obviously I don't. They're like, Myron and Walter don't even like black women. So that's why they're going to jump on her and pop off at her the way that they do. They're always doing that to black women. And to prove their point, a clip of Myron and Walter was brought out by the collective public showing Myron and Walter basically being racist. They were berating and bashing black women and saying, number one, as black men, they are black men. We don't date black women.
What about the black dating app called Black?
Oh, it's funny. I never used that one, bro. But hey, man.
I mean, hey, bro, if you want to date a bunch of Shaniquas, go for it, man.
LaQuisha.
Yeah. Like, me and Fresh aren't really down with the brown like that. Man. We ain't night riders.
Nah,
so
bro, I'm good.
Sometimes if they're, red bone, but like in general, me and Fresh don't dabble in the dark, if you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
Okay.
I ain't gonna lie, just keeping it real. I don't really date black girls. it's not because like most black girls are like annoying, how to put this, ratchet, and they don't know how to like be reserved. You're like the complete opposite.
You are not the stereotype.
And this is why we have the crown of shade, okay? This is why I possess the crown of shade. Let's get one thing straight. Y'all are black. you're black. You're black, okay? And Fresh, damn straight, is black. He's African black. The audacity to sit there and be like, I don't date black women because they're this, that, and the other. All y'all came from black women. You got black sisters. Any daughter that you have, especially Fresh, is going to be black. So I'm like, if my brother had the nerve to say something like this, I would slap my own brother. No exaggeration. I have to explain it to mom later. This is what happened. And quite honestly, I don't think she'd be mad about it. I would slap my own brother if they had the nerve to sit up in my face or on social media for any reason and be like, I don't date black women for all these different stereotypical reasons. Mind you this, if this were two white men up here saying this, racist. There would be no question as to their racist behavior. They would be labeled racist off the bat. And to answer everybody's questions, black people, case proven, can surely be racist. Racism is denoting somebody's race, skin color, to mean that they are lesser than other members of society. It is basing your false stereotypes and ideology on these people to determine that they are lesser than, which is exactly what Fresh and Fit, Myron and Walter did. They pulled on things that are untrue. They pulled on stereotypes, false information to label an entire group of people to be substandard. And this is what makes it 100% racism and not a preference, okay? It's not a preference. A preference is, I prefer white cake with no chocolate, no filling. I like white cake, but I will also enjoy brownies every now and then. I prefer vanilla bean ice cream. Truly, I do. It's my favorite ice cream. But every now and then, I want rainbow sherbet. Like, I will indulge in rainbow sherbet, but the preference that I will always love and eat and be happy with is vanilla bean, though I am willing to partake in other things. Having a preference means I tend to be drawn more to one side of things, but that doesn't mean the other things are bad, you know? But Walter and Myron took this opportunity to vocally put down black women by using false and negative stereotypes. And like, as if there's not stereotypes for white women or Asian women or any other women, but they don't use those stereotypes when it comes to those women. But it's totally fine to use stereotypes towards black women. And every time I do videos like this, people want to sit down in my comments and pretend as if racism to this day isn't an issue. It is an issue everywhere. It comes from outside cultures and it comes from within our own culture. And it's extremely upsetting because it's very easy to say that these stereotypes are untrue. In fact, in one of these podcasts, Myron looks at one of the black women and he looks at her and he says, well, you don't fit the stereotype. Like, you don't count. You're outside the stereotype. That's not a compliment, by the way. That's not a compliment, by the way. People have said that to me and they're like, oh, well, you don't fit the stereotype of the rest of the N-words in the world. I don't like the rest of them niggas, but you're a special N-word. You're my special little bitch. That's not a compliment. This goes back to every time a black woman has had to sit in front of someone and hear that, oh my gosh, you're so pretty for a black woman. Like, as if the rest of, my culture, ethnicity, the rest of the people are just some substandard demonic alien looking witches. Like, being surprised at my level of speaking ability is not a compliment, because that means that you're inclined to believe that I have a substandard level of thinking simply because I am burdened by my skin tone. And to hear this come from black men, this is why we're having such issues within the black community when it comes to, black women and black men. And I've been trying to talk about this forever. And yes, black women have some issues on their side, but black men, you make it very hard for everything not to be your fault when you're going this far and allowing this type of rhetoric to persist. How are Myron and Fresh allowed to exist on the internet, clearly being as racist as they are? Because you damn well know, had these been white men, they would have been canceled immediately, justifiably, because this is 100% racism, but not a preference. You're using stereotypes to justify you bashing and berating women that you perceive to be less than. And the thing is, it's their fault. It is their fault. I have gone through and watched some of their podcasts and the women that they invite on the podcast. And the women that they invite on the podcast are really showing me the type of people that you like to hang around. Because if you go and watch their podcast, they're not lining that show with very eloquent, well-versed, studied women. They're not lining that podcast with women that are trained and learned and educated and have something to say. It's very obvious that they're gathering these women from clubs that they like to exist in. They're gathering IG models, which makes sense because clearly Myron just likes to sleep around and he's using that as an excuse. The women that they are gathering are showcasing the selection of women that they're looking at. And that's your own fault, okay? If there was a woman that I was friends with and she's always complaining about men, but the men I always see her dating are drug dealers, and she's always insisting on dating drug dealers, but at the same time complaining that these men keep getting sent to jail, babe, that's your fault. You can't sit up here and tell me men ain't shit. No, your men ain't shit. Myron and Fresh want to sit up here and say black women ain't shit. No, the black women you're around ain't shit. And it's not just the black women. Most of the women I've seen on that podcast, they're probably like nice people, but they're not women that are engaging or really have anything to say or is really going to do anything to bring up something to Fresh and Fit and really combat their negative behaviors. They're women that are easily steamrolled, and they're women that are not representative of the type of women Fresh and Fit say alpha men should be going after. I'm friends with alpha women. I'm friends with the women that you say that you want. The women who are educated and beautiful and keep their bodies right and tight and are fit and are trained and they're like all the women that alpha men say that they love and they want, and these are the women you're trying to bag. They're my friends. They're my friends. They're literal queens. And let me tell you something. They don't like you. They don't like you. You are unworthy of their attention or their presence, which is exactly why women of that caliber you will not find present on the Fresh and Fit podcast. I can get them to come on my channel. You cannot get them to come on yours because y'all are unworthy. That is the mark of fraudulent wannabe alpha babies. The women that they attract showcase the type of men that they are. Because you see me surrounded with gorgeous women, title-holding queens who can spit facts, who are fabulous and fun. I mean, Fresh and Fit are surrounded with the aftermath of the kicked out 2 a.m. club hours. So it's very hard to even take these men seriously when they're showing their ass. They're showing themselves to be false. And I'm happy to see their downfall because I would prefer that the space be dominated by men of substance, by men who are truly making things better for men and teaching men what they need to know, because that helps me as a woman. It helps us as women to have a man teach other men how to be true men. Like I would love that. You're teaching men how to be confident, how to take care of themselves, how to be protectors, and how to be like, I appreciate those type of men, okay? Because I'm not trying to be nobody's mama. I don't want to have to tell my man to shower. I don't want to have to tell my man to clean up after himself. I don't want to have to tell my man to go to the gym. And yes, I am willing to provide the same in return. I do not mind making a sandwich for a man who's worth it. Absolutely, I will sit on your lap and you will be my daddy. I don't care. I don't care what the rest of y'all women think. When I have a man who's worthy of my time, he will get the world. Fresh and Fit are not those men for anyone, ever, at all. Okay, this is why that their channel is devoid of any women of like true substance. That's not to say these women aren't, once again, great people. But comparably, if I were to bring my friends on that channel and Fresh and Fit were to bring their girls on that channel, there's no competition. It's not even a contest, okay? And I want the women who have been on Fresh and Fit's podcast to know you were chosen to be steamrolled. I'm not over here bashing you. I don't mean to bash you. It irritates me that Fresh and Fit are knowingly choosing people that they know they can steamroll. They know they can push around. They know that they can overcome. They know and expect that you are not going to create a challenge for them. That's why they're choosing you. But back to the whole racism thing, Black women should no longer even exist on the Fresh and Fit podcast. They shouldn't. Fresh and Fit are racist. There's racist. Seriously. And if you're Black, your bias is probably, if you think Fresh and Fit aren't racist, you have bias. I'm telling you, you have bias. Because you color these two Black men with a white Crayola crown, you would be calling them racist, no problem. So I make no exceptions because they're Black. At all. At all. That's why I got the crown of shade on. And I don't have too much more to say on the issue. I really don't. Stamp them racist and move on. Move on. I'm happy to see their downfall. In the comment section below, let me know what you think of the Fresh and Fit debacle, them being in the news yet again for bullshit. Do you think this is the last we'll hear of them? I doubt it. I doubt it. They just can't stop putting their foot in their mouth at this point. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up. If you are not a member of my lovely court, be sure to hit the subscribe button so that we can chit chat and have fun and I can see your face again because we have a lot of fun over here. I love you. I'll miss you. And you know I will be back in a future video. Bye.